Hello everyone, it is me, ETG, and today I want to talk about my first impressions of Luigi's Mansion. Right after completing the game, I literally just beat it, 20 minutes ago? The reason I want to talk about this game real quick is because I feel like, honestly, this is one of my favorite Nintendo games that I've ever played, period, and I literally just finished it. It did not take long for it to become one of my favorites, I will tell you that. And instead of doing some big script like I usually do, I think I might try to take a different approach on how I do these kinds of videos from now on, like just jotting down notes and reminding myself what to talk about rather than writing down entire scripts and reading off the script exactly as it says. Because I feel like when I do that, I'm less of myself and more just, following a script. So instead, I want to do like a first impressions type thing, kind of like what I did with my Showdown Bandit video, but unlike that one, I have some notes jotted down that I'm going to read through to make sure that I get through everything I want to talk about. This video probably won't be incredibly long, but enjoy it anyways, hopefully. Also, God help me, because my fan is not on right now while I'm recording this, and it is very hot in this room, but I turned it off anyways to ensure that I get the best audio quality, so I'm just gonna try to get this over with. Alright, so firstly, I want to talk about the music in this game. Honestly, I feel like I have a bit more of a problem with the music in this game than most people do, to be honest. I'm not really sure why that is. I feel like it's probably because, at least from what I remember, there was not that much variety in the music. It was kind of just like the same repeating tune, or like the same repeating tracks over and over. And some of those tracks were just remixed versions of other tracks, like the whistling tune when those rooms with the lights on plays is just a remixed version of the main theme. So music, all in all, the music that was there was good. It was really good. I loved it. It went with the spooky atmosphere of the game very, very well, but there wasn't enough of it. I think probably my favorite track from the game is the one where you gotta fight the giant boo, obviously not King Boo, but the big boo that, made up of a bunch of smaller boos. I forgot what that one's called. I don't know what the boss is called. Look it up on Wikipedia or something if you want. But that one probably had my favorite track in the game. That's really all I got to say about that. That's really all I have to say about the music. What was there was good, and there just wasn't enough. So next I want to talk about the graphics. In case you didn't know, I played this lovely game right here on that thing back there. And believe it or not, this actually did affect the video performance somewhat, because that TV back there has a ghosting issue. If you don't know what a ghosting issue is, it basically means that an image, even after disappearing off the screen, will kind of like leave a very small transparent version of it. I say small, it doesn't get smaller. It just leaves a transparent version of what you already saw trailing behind a little bit. So it kind of looks like motion blur, but if motion blur trailed. It's very hard to describe. Something else about playing on that TV is that it is an HD TV, and unless you have HD cables for your GameCube, which I currently don't have at the moment, most GameCube games come out looking really blurry on HD TVs, especially ones as big as that. And I found the best way to play, honestly, was, because usually I'd sit like right there on my bed playing the game, was just position myself up against my pillow back there, because that made it, like, the trailing effect a little less noticeable, but not by a huge amount. And the reason that I bring all this up is because a few things about the graphical quality may be, I don't know, just maybe incorrect, because I was at a bit of a visual disadvantage. For those of you saying I should have just played it on a emulator, well, no. Why do you think I bought the game? I'm not just gonna buy the game and then play it on my emulator. And my laptop's a potato right now anyways, and I hate running emulators through it, so So firstly, model quality is beautiful. It's honestly surprising. I was honestly surprised at how good the model quality was, because I think there is a lot of GameCube games that do not take the model capabilities or the graphical capabilities of the GameCube like into account enough. Like, they don't use it to its full advantage enough. One game that kind of springs to mind for some reason is Resident Evil 4. I kind of felt like that game didn't really use its full graphical capabilities. I felt like a lot of the lighting could have been better. Felt like just a lot of the model quality in general in that game could have been better. So I was very, very surprised at how good the model quality in the game was. You may have also noticed that just a second ago I mentioned lighting, and the lighting in the game was also extremely well done, and I really do think that it was the best idea to have Luigi's Mansion to demonstrate the GameCube's graphical capabilities, because when you're in low light and then, you know, just smaller bits of light comes through and like cast shadows, that is a great way to show off the lighting and shadow capabilities of the GameCube. Because yeah, Luigi's Mansion was originally a game made to demonstrate the GameCube's I can't speak, graphical capabilities. I don't know if y'all knew that, but if you didn't, I mean, you know now. I also really like the dust particle effects on everything. Like, the amount of detail in those dust particles for a GameCube game. Oh my lord. Also, thanks to the channel Beta64, I was actually able to find out that it took them 6 months to develop the dust in the game. 6 months. That's dedication. Friggin' facts, bro. So yeah, dust particle effects were very good. The ghost effects were also really good. I think the reason I thought the ghost effects were so impressive was because I have spent, like, really the only GameCube game that I've played with, like, ghosts in it is Pac-Man World 2. So when I played Luigi's Mansion and I saw, like, all this glow and transparency to them, I was like, I did not even know the GameCube could do this. That was very cool to see. What else? So I think that about does it for the graphical presentation. All around, great looking game. I'm not sure how much better or worse it looks through. Obviously, it's probably not going to look worse through an emulator, but I'm not sure how much better it looks through an emulator. But maybe, you know, once I get a hold of a better computer, one that is not a potato, I will try it out in an emulator and see if the game looks any better. It probably will, because, like I said, that thing makes it blurry and has that ghosting effect, which, it's funny it's called a ghosting effect because it's got ghosts. So we've talked about basically already thing presentation-wise. We talked about the music and the graphical quality. We won't really go into the story because there's not much of one, so I'm not even going to bother with it. I will say one thing about the story. It was simplistic, and that's fine. It was mostly a demonstration game that was based in the Mario universe, and Mario games are already, they already have like very simplistic stories. So I think for a demonstration game, or a game that was basically just made to be a demonstration set in the Mario universe, I think the story's fine. Now the gameplay itself is what I want to talk about, because the gameplay of this game is very repetitive, but like some other games that I've played in the past, even though the game is repetitive, I still thought it was fun. It took me a little while to get used to the ghost catching mechanic in it, because I had originally played Dark Moon years before I played the first game. So, you know how in Dark Moon, like, you would just, like, yank the circle pad in the opposite direction. You wouldn't really, you know, actually, like, yank the stick around. You just pull it in the opposite direction, and that was it. Until, you know, you got to press A and suck them in a little easier. With this game, you couldn't just do that, because that meant it took way longer to suck them up. You actually had to yank the stick back and forth. Like, let me show you a demonstration. Like, on my 3DS right here, this is the one I actually played it on, you would just, like, pull the stick in this direction. Like, let's say the ghost is trying to get that way, you'll just pull it in this direction. You know, goes around like that. As of where, with this GameCube controller that I'll show you, you can't just, you know, if the ghost is going that way, you can't just pull it this way. You have to, like, constantly be turning it and yanking it around like this, and that was great. I loved that way more than the second game, and I don't know, if I will ever be able to go back to the second game again, because I liked how this game handled it so much more, and it saddens me that the only reason they could not do the same on the 3DS game Dark Moon was because of the circle pad. Now that I think about it, how on earth did they handle that with the remake? Because the remake of the first game came out on the 3DS, so did they just, like, not even care? Did you just change it? I don't freaking know. So, that's how you catch ghosts in the game. There's also portrait ghosts in this game that are kind of like boss battles that you have to collect. Some of them are optional, but a lot of them are actually necessary to complete the game. At least I think a lot of them are necessary. Maybe there's only like one for each floor that's necessary, and I just didn't know because I think there was only one portrait ghost out of the whole game that I didn't catch. I might have to do a bit of research on that, but I'm pretty sure there was only one portrait ghost in the entire game that I didn't catch. So maybe there's like only like one mandatory one for each floor and I just don't remember it, but who knows, honestly. The portrait ghosts are basically the same as the regular ghosts when it comes to catching them, except they all kind of have their own thing that they do. Most of the things they just do, though, is kind of throw projectiles, which I think it would have been nice to have something a little more than just the portrait ghosts being like literal bosses, doing a little more than just throwing projectiles at you while fighting them, because even like the big green ghost did that with like throwing the bananas, so it kind of just felt like a more inflated health version of that ghost. So I kind of wish they did a little bit more with the portrait ghosts as far as how to catch them goes, but other than that, you know, they're fine. In fact, I think that's one of the reasons why I really did not care about their like non-inclusion in Dark Moon, like really at all, because they didn't really mean that much to me before I played the game, because they, like, even before I played it, they looked kind of lame. And now that I'm playing, and now that I've actually played it, they don't mean any more to me. Like, people are like, oh, it's what gives the ghosts their personality and whatnot. But in Dark Moon, pretty much all the ghosts, even like the regular ghosts, have personalities. And I get that a lot of that personality is literally just being goofy, which I don't even technically count as like personality. To me, making a character just goofy and wisecracking all the time is not a personality. That is just making an annoying character. Minions is probably the best example of that. But either way, whether or not you liked that personality from them, they still had personality. So that's why I don't really care too much that the portrait ghosts were excluded from the second game. They don't mean much to me in the first game at all. I overall just kind of found them de-interesting. And yes, I did read through their dialogues. The ones that did have dialogue, I did read through them, but really didn't make them all too much more interesting to me. The rest of the gameplay, outside of the ghost catching, mostly consists of kind of exploring the mansion. It's kind of weird because it's kind of exploration, but also kind of linear at the same time. It is a very, very weird combination of the two. Like, once you get to a new area, you can explore a certain amount of doors, but most of the time, you'll probably only be able to open like 1 or 2 doors until you defeat another portrait ghost and get a key for other rooms, which I honestly thought was kind of disappointing. I thought the game would be a bit more explorative, a little less linear, but it's a demonstration game for the GameCube. I'm not really sure what I expected. The gameplay outside of the ghost catching isn't really all too fun to me. Like, yeah, it's explorative and whatnot, and I get how some people could think that's fun, but to me it was just a tad bit too linear to really be considered exploration, to be honest. There's just too many locked doors before you gotta get a key from a portrait ghost and unlock a door. Or sometimes you wouldn't even get keys from portrait ghosts. I think sometimes you would just get keys from clearing all the ghosts out of a room and then getting a chest with a key in it. But my point still stands. But even though the gameplay, because like that's the entire gameplay throughout the whole thing, just the ghost catching and the quote-unquote exploration. That sounds repetitive, right? And when you try to pay attention to it, it does seem repetitive. Because it is repetitive, but it's somehow still fun. Once again, I am comparing this to Resident Evil 4. I know it's a completely different game, but that game had a lot of repetitious gameplay, and if you really, like, if you were paying very close attention to how repetitious it is, it will start to feel that way. But like that game, in this game, if you look past that, you're not really going to notice it, because the only times I noticed it was when I was paying attention to it. As long as I could look past that, I could still have fun, and I didn't care that the gameplay was repetitious. Which is actually interesting, because that's why I heard some people saying that Dark Moon is just as good, if not better, than the original, because it actually added more gameplay to it. Like, it had a little more, as of where, you know, some people are like, oh, that extra gameplay is just useless mechanics. And I'm kind of in the middle ground with that, to be honest, but this is not a video about Dark Moon. This is about the first game, so let's just keep on with that. And the last thing I will say about this game, the boo catching is stupid. The boo catching felt like padding. Like, legit, people say that Luigi's Mansion 3 felt like the boos were put in last minute. This game, in my opinion, also feels like that. Because it feels like they were like, oh, boos are like the main Ghost of Mario. We can't just have King Boo. What are we gonna do? And so they were like, okay, put 50 boos in the game, and then spread them all across different rooms, and you have to catch each one, except if you don't catch them immediately, they can fly into different rooms, and then you have to go find that room they just went into, which can get very frustrating very quickly, because sometimes you don't always know which room they go into, and then you lose them, and it's frustrating as heck, especially when they don't just go to a different room, but they fly upwards onto another floor, meaning you have to try to go all the way around, go up the stairs, and come back, or try to find that room in the floor upstairs that they went to, and then there's a possibility of them either, 1, moving up another floor, or 2, moving to another room again. It is stupid, it is dumb, it is padding. It is the worst part of the game, in my opinion. But other than that, the game's good. So in conclusion, I love this game. And I know that a lot of the criticism I seem to have given it was, like, it made it seem like I didn't like the game that much. But the thing about this game is that if you're willing to look past the flaws that it has, because the flaws aren't very apparent, then you can still have a great time with it. Do I think that this game is worth what I paid for it, which is $49? I'm gonna keep it real with you. No. If you can, either play this game on an emulator, because we all know that Nintendo is not making money off of it anymore, or try to find it for maybe around $30. Like, I think I got a pretty good deal with the game, finding it for the case and disc in almost pristine condition for $49. But I don't even think that was worth it. If you really don't care about, like, game collecting, like you don't care about having the cases displayed on your shelf like I do, just get the disc only. It's much easier to find a copy for like $30 that way. $30 maximum is what I would pay for it. It is not worth anywhere over 30 though. Not even like 35, not even 31 for that matter. Just 30, just kidding. No, it can be like a few dollars over 30, I don't care. Just do not pay what I paid for it, please. It is, in my opinion, not that, it's not worth it by that much. I fricked that up so badly. But guys, that is it for this video. Let me know if you actually kind of liked this less scripted format of video, because if so, I would like to actually continue with it. Because I think this is how some other YouTubers that I know do their videos. Like, they don't write down entire scripts. Like, I know a few who have confirmed that that is what they do, but I know quite a few who will just take down notes so they can remember what to talk about, and then talk about it in the video and just kind of express what they feel about it that way. And in my opinion, that's kind of the best approach to go for anyways, because my opinions may change on a game after finishing writing the script. And if that happens, I have to go back in and rewrite parts of the script, which can get very annoying, especially when writing the scripts already takes hours in the first place. But yeah, let me know if you guys enjoyed this format. I have a few more gameplay videos lined up. One of them was this Blaze, by the way, on a game that I will not specify yet, but hey, be on the lookout for that. And I'm out. I'm done. I got nothing else to say.